I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that this is a Catholic university. Probably St. Mary's as its name begins to give it away if it's a secret. In the Catholic Church, there's two things going on. One is ending and one is beginning this month. So the leader of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, this past year, he was asking us to honor consecrated life. Brothers, sisters, some religious priests, people whose lives really were given to God for the good of humanity. Some of you have never met any of those people. I'm one of those people. It's kind of the Brother William, kind of Brother Robert. There's a few of us around, Sister Andrea. But the other thing that's going on is within the month, Pope Francis in the Vatican City opened the main door of St. Peter's Basilica. You would think that door is always open, but it's not. The main center door only opens up every 25 or 50 years or so. It's a big thing. The last time it opened up was more recently. It was 2000. And so John Paul II wanted this, as we went into 2000, this great moment in time, he opened the door. But Francis opened the door actually on December 8th, which was Mary's feast day, which is kind of nice for this university. But he opens that door as a door of mercy. And usually, and it's always the case with Catholics, they kind of get whipped up in prayers and things. So he's saying this time, it's just not about going through a door and saying some prayers. What act of mercy are you going to do? I mean, that's when he opened the door, he said, imagine doing something for someone else and you're not going to get a return on it. I call it gratuitous kindness. A free gift, a merciful free gift. I've been thinking, who do I need to forgive without exacting the price of retribution? Or to whom do I need to give the gift of saying I'm sorry, even though it requires a little bit more humility on my part? So when I start thinking about what is this thing of opening a door and going through doors, but really has been on my mind with that was some of the words that he used, because I was kind of blown away with their timeliness when he was talking about there are still places in our world where doors are not locked. And yet there are others where the doors need to be reinforced. Now, when I thought about that, the first 17 years of my life living at home in New York City, I never had a key to my house. In New York City, I never had a key to my house until I went away to college, to the brothers, because it was never locked. Now, over time, I live, half my time is in Winona, Minnesota, where a lot of doors still remain unlocked. But over time, I learned not only to lock my garage, but to lock the car that's in the locked garage. And so I think what Francis is saying when he's opening a door in 2016 is saying, where are you with doors? Are they open or are they reinforced? The other thing he said was, the symbolic management of doors, thresholds and passages and frontiers have become crucial. Now, for a brother of the Christian schools, in my training for John Baptist de la Salle, our founder, doors were pretty important because we were taught every time you go through a doorway, remember that you're in God's presence. If you could think how many doorways you've gone through this morning, if only in this building. But it wasn't just that you met God going through the doorway, but it was who is inside the room that you went into. It might have been yourself in the mirror this morning, or it might have been people here ready to celebrate with you today. Who were the people as you came through doors? But he says this management of doors has become crucial. The door must protect, certainly, but not repudiate. Doors must not be forced. On the contrary, it's necessary to ask permission to enter, as hospitality shines in the freedom of welcome and darkens in the arrogance of invasion. And then he says, the door needs to be opened frequently. And sometimes you need to go to the door, open it, and look outside to see who's waiting. Perhaps who doesn't even have the courage or the strength to knock. And so I've been playing in my mind with this idea of doors, and I find myself thinking about migrants all over the world. Hundreds of thousands in the Middle East, into Europe and in North America, whole families in Latin America, a continent of Africa, an extraordinary migration, people going through doors into other places. I found myself, when I thought about the doors, thinking about the men and women who bear arms at home and abroad in defense of freedom and safety and peace and the domestic tranquility. People who put their life on the line in the sacred trust we have with them that everyone has a right to be safe and free and protected. And I grew up in a family of firefighters and police. Firefighters are more numerous when your father, your grandfather, two of your uncles, two of your brother-in-laws. But my family tells the story, we're the crowd that rushes in the building when everybody else is rushing out, who go through the door into what isn't safe, hopefully to help others come through the door into safety. I find myself thinking, as I think about this holy door, about our Muslim and black colleagues and students here at St. Mary's in this city and around the country. I had a young Muslim student say to me after the Paris attacks, I was really nervous. Young Muslim student from Saudi Arabia. I was really nervous. What would people do to me? Would they think that I was involved in this? And then he said to me, I've heard them talk about Minnesota nice, but this was really a time when I was grateful and I began to understand that people weren't treating me differently. But I also was with a young black student from Chicago recently who was talking to me about this great sadness and a frustration, a sense of growing frustration and alienation. And so when I think about doors, it's more than about doorways. It's about the hospitality that shines in the freedom of welcome. It's about remembering that I need to go and open the door even if it wasn't knocked on, to see who's outside, maybe feeling unsure, uncertain, or afraid. I'm playing around with this idea in my mind, and in January, our country recalls and honors the memory of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And pretty much every January, I like to go back and read a few of his talks. And that great 1963 speech, seems a long time ago. I was a junior in high school. But as a junior in high school, I heard these words. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. So we've come to cash this check, standing on the front of the Lincoln Memorial. We've come to cash this check that will give us, upon demand, the riches of freedom and the security of justice. Now, China shut down its stock market temporarily last week. This sense that there are limitless funds is being stressed and challenged. When Greece has to shut down banks to get calm to happen, it is no little thing to come forward to cash the check that will give us, upon demand, the riches of freedom and the security of justice. It's my 50th anniversary from high school. I went to the class reunion and I saw all of those people that I hadn't seen in like forever. And if you've been to your class reunion, you know they put your photo on the badge so you can figure out who one another are. 50 years, 50 pounds, it doesn't help for recognition, okay? In my high school yearbook, I had forgotten that there is a photo that was captured of one of the great moments of my life. Standing in Washington, D.C., looking up at these words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I remember that moment, but what blew me away a couple of months ago is that one of my classmates saw it happening when it was happening to me and captured it on film. That we hold as self-evident that all are equal and have inalienable rights. This is not a Minnesota accent, clearly. In the city of my birth, New York, where my great-grandparents arrived, in the steerage area of a ship, the part that was the cheapest class, that had limited access to toilets, and where the food was nothing to write home about. When they came into the harbor over 100 years ago and saw the Statue of Liberty, a statue on which is engraved, "Give me your tired, your poor, your troubled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." That's what welcomed my family to this nation. And they didn't come in first class. They came with open hands and a hungry heart, believing that in this place, something special would happen. the symbolic management of doors that must protect but can't repudiate, that can't be forced, where permission needs to be asked, and the glory of shining hospitality, and where we never forget to go open the door even if nobody knocked on it, because there just might be somebody out there waiting who doesn't have the strength or the courage. St. Mary's University, as a Lasallian school, one of 1,000 in the world, was founded over 300 years ago, this Lasallian network, because the children of the working class and the poor were locked out of schools. And De La Salle challenged the First Brother teachers to say, could you imagine that the one who's knocking at the door of the school, the tattered youngster in rags, might just be God with a different face? The great St. Vincent de Paul, the champion of the poor in France, 50 years before De La Salle, tells the first sisters working with the poor and the homeless in France, you know, when you're in prayer praying and someone comes and knocks on the door, don't worry. Leave the prayer and go answer the door. Because if you are really seeking to meet God at prayer, and you open the door and you're willing to welcome God as God presents himself to you, what's the difference? Who comes to our door? Who comes to the door of St. Mary's? Opening doors to the working class and the poor, opening minds and hearts to the rest of the human family. I want to join today at your graduation my voice to voice of some of my other sister and brother presidents here in Minnesota in saying before our community and before you that at this time of deeply troubled anti-Muslim rhetoric, we at St. Mary's reiterate our welcome and our support to Muslims as valued members of our community. I want to say in this month when our nation remembers and honors the memory of Dr. King, that we stand with our black brothers and sisters against racial injustice that continues to devastate communities here at home and across America. The noble demand for the riches of freedom and security of justice must be honored by this nation. And I want to say in this university, where we are proud of our people who belong to the armed services and who have served our country nobly and well, and we are honored and pleased to be educating people in the police sciences, where we are training and educating people who put their life on the line every day, that our deepest and fervent hope is that you are continuing to be committed to safety, peace, domestic tranquility, and freedom. Because that's our dream. That's our hope. And I really do believe that's what we all are about. What I want to say is that when one part of our community is hurt and hurting, our entire community suffers. And we need to be that space of inclusivity and respect and solidarity where everyone is welcomed and everyone respects everyone else and everyone brings to bear the learning that we are the beneficiaries of for the sake of the common good. So really, graduates, I'm asking you today to think about what's going on and to try to figure out how your mind and your heart, as a result of this experience, is better prepared to be part of the solution to the events that are going on today and not part of the problem. I know some of you. I've met many of you. I have absolute confidence that we are making a difference, and we will make a difference. So once again, graduates, congratulations, and best wishes. And know that I will continue to pray that God bless and protect you and your families, and that God bless St. Mary's University.